Hi everyone, welcome to A Beer with Brad episode 53. Tonight we're going to talk about the College Series and some fireworks, but first let's talk about the beer. Tonight I'm having a J is for Juice by Corn Coast Brewing Company. Corn Coast, I've had them on one other time. They're a Lincoln, Nebraska brewery, but more recently they have opened a tap room here in Omaha. It's right down in La Vista by Cross Strain, Pint 9, Nebraska Brewing Company, and Lucky Buckets right down there too. So a lot of beer being produced in that little pocket of Sarpy County. But Corn Coast does some amazing hazy IPAs. I put them right up there at the top of the IPA game here in the Omaha metro area. J is for Juice is a hazy IPA, and I would say this, out of all the hazy IPAs that they've made, this is right up there with the top. Not just for Corn Coast, but just in hazy IPAs in general. This one's delicious. It has so much flavor. It's funny, my buddy Lou has beers flown in from, or shipped in from New England, some of the best, like Treehouse out there, Trillium. He has those IPAs. Treehouse is the main one that he gets, and people just rave about the Treehouse IPAs. I'd put this right up there with some Treehouse IPAs. Also, the other beer that a lot of people right now are going pretty crazy about is the Double Dry Hop King Sue. That's also right. I mean, this is right up there with that, if not just a smidge better than that. So, if you really like the hazy New England IPAs, J is for Juice is one to try. I don't know that I've seen this anywhere in the store. I actually went down to the tap room in La Vista, 108th and Giles, picked it up, and it's a little on the pricier side, but beer is all getting crazy expensive anymore. I feel like it. 4-packs, used to get a 6-pack for $7.99, and now some of these 4-packs are going for $20-$25, which is just crazy for beer. I was joking with my wife the other day, and I said I'm going to start drinking bourbon to save money, which who would have thought 5 years ago? If you would have said that, people would have laughed at you. So, but anyways, you get what you pay for with this one. J is for Juice, Corn Coast Brewing Company, amazing beer. So tonight I want to talk about the College World Series. Start off by saying that all the years I've been covering the College World Series, basically every year, with a couple exceptions, since 2010. The last year at Rosenblatt was the first year I covered the College World Series, and basically every year since then. This year, for whatever reason, 75th anniversary, they gave us every single media person got a gift box, which was really cool. In it, a beer glass very similar to the one I'm drinking. Actually, I should have used that tonight. What was I thinking? Kind of cool. Has the Rosenblatt and the dome on the back, and then it has the pedestrian bridge, the College World Series trophy, the 75-year logo. Just a cool little glass. Also came with a baseball with the 75th logo on it. A cookie that maybe I shouldn't have let sit in here for a month because it was probably really good, and now it's looking a little funny. And then there was also a bag of beef jerky in there, so just a nice little message from CWS Omaha in there. Really cool. I know like a lot of people that cover bowl games and Super Bowls and big events like that get these kind of gift boxes, but around Omaha there hasn't been, other than the Storm Chasers, giving out a few items here and there. This is about it, so pretty cool to see. I wish when UNO hockey, they had a couple special pucks that I wish I would have got my hands on, but miss out, but it's cool to have some things like that. So, College World Series photos this year. The first one I took was actually a day or two before the series got kicked off. They put this great big College World Series logo out on the pavement in front of the Road to Omaha statue. And I don't know that I had actually taken a picture of the front of the stadium since they switched from TD Ameritrade to Charles Schwab. So it was cool to get a nice photo of the outside of the stadium. And then with the 75th anniversary was a nice touch added to it. Just a simple wide angle shot right before sunset, or right after sunset, before dark. So I'm going to say that these photos, the College World Series photos here, are not in any particular order. I used two different cameras, so kind of based on the file name, they're in that kind of order. So all of them are going to be off the first camera first and the second camera second. Overall, great College World Series. I photographed 5 games this year. I did the first 4, and then I took Sunday off, and then Monday night game, and then later that week we had family come to town, and then I went out of town, went up for what's turning into an annual float trip down the Niobrara River up in Valentine. So I went up there for the weekend, so I missed the championship series, which is it's too bad. It's fun to get that photo of the dog pile at the end of the series, but it was also a great time in Niobrara with family, and had my son up there again. We making some great memories up there, and surprise of all surprises, we're out in the best part of Nebraska, and I never even once took out my camera. So last year I took out, did some cool star photos, but this year I never took out the camera the one time. So that's okay though. It was a fun time with the kids and family. So. Alright, so let's get in the photos here. The first 5 photos were taken with my older Canon 5D Mark II, and then either the 70-200 lens, which I broke during the College World Series, or the 400mm f2, the old heavy thing, weighs a ton lens. So first one, just a nice picture. You got a player sliding to second, and then the Cardinal throwing the ball to first, trying to turn the double play. Just kind of like the facial expression here. He's got the ball, the guy sliding. Of course, if I go back, I wish my camera was just pointed a smidge to the left to get all of the runners sliding to second base. But, the main focus of this, the guy that's in focus, the guy that's the focus of the picture is the Cardinal. Next one, another from that same game, the Cardinal pitcher, Louisville Cardinal. In Nebraska we call it Louisville. Down in Kentucky they call it Louisville, so I have to be careful which one I say if you see me pause for a minute. But what I really liked about this was just the look of the background. The fans behind him are all in the shade, and then the pitcher's in the sun. It really has a nice contrast between the light and dark. You don't get this for very long during the evening games. Don't get it all during the day games, and a very short time during the evening games before the pitcher goes in the shade also. But when you get that moment, it's really cool. I always try to capture it. Next photo right here is the very last photo of the game. Oregon State had a walk-off run. You can see the Oregon State player sliding in, his teammate watching with anticipation. You got a fan in the crowd holding his head like what happened, and you have another fan in the crowd with his arms in the air. You got the ball right in front of the catcher. The catcher is focused on the ball. Unfortunately, this is not the sharpest photo I had that night, but I was using the old 70-200mm lens, which is a slow focusing lens. It was probably a little bit further than it should. I should have had on like a 300mm lens for this. Just kind of using what I had. And, it's not perfect. It's not the best, but it is what I had. And I don't know. I'll get into the 200mm lens later, but I wish I had a 300mm lens for plays like this. Next is a UCLA Bruin slide in the first base. What I really like about this, it doesn't have the best lighting. It's kind of in the shade in the evening, but you just see all the dirt flying up from his hand as he's sliding the first. This was also taken with my 400mm lens. You can see it's a lot clearer. It gets you a lot closer. Really zoomed in on the player and the action. 400mm lens, as much as make fun of it for being old and heavy and slow, it still does take really nice pictures. Next photo, kind of like the one earlier, but here's another. This one's UCLA. Again, a guy trying to turn double play, or at least throwing a first. I don't see the runner in this one. Just kind of the way he's leaned over, and he has. You can tell he's just clinched up, ready to throw it as hard as he can to first base, get the runner out. Next one here is where I switched to my Canon R5. This one was taken with the 10-20mm wide angle lens that I have, the newer wide angle lens. Normally I don't take as many pictures from this corner of the stadium, but the way the clouds were that night and the light, I just felt like it made a really nice photo. This was all the way on the 10mm end. That 10mm it's not the fisheye, it's just a new lens Canon has. You can kind of see in the corner some of the people maybe are a little bit elongated, but overall it does a really nice picture, and I really like what it does for this. I really like wide angle pictures of stadiums. I want to see all the fans. You see a lot of pictures where they crop in tighter and get right down to the field of action, but to me it's about the whole event, the experience. So I love to get the whole stadium with all the fans in there, and that's why I always try to use the wide angle lens, the fisheye, or I do panoramic photos. That's what we talked about earlier. Now we are on to the Coastal Carolina game, and this now I'm still using my new R5, but I'm using the 200 to 800 millimeter lens. The problem with that lens when it comes to sports is it's slower, but in a middle of the day baseball game it works just fine. This is a 200-800. It is at almost 300 millimeters, like earlier when I said I need a 300 millimeter lens. Almost at 300 millimeters, but like a 300 millimeter lens would be f2.8. This one's f9. So it works good for this scene. If there was a lot of distractions in the background, you'd want something closer to that f2 to kind of blur out the distractions. But here with the green wall, it looks good. You got that shortstop there getting ready to catch the ball, getting ready to hope to apply the tag. You got the second baseman running behind him to back up, and this guy must have already started. The runner must have started towards third because he's completely facing the wrong way to be running a normal base pattern. So overall, I just liked the way the ball was. The guy was leaning into it, and just the cool shades and stuff. So next one, got a UCLA player slide into second base, and the strange thing you'll notice about this one is the shortstop has missed the ball, and you can just tell by the way that he has his glove closed, and it's like he's already going down to apply the tag, but the ball's still up in the air. So kind of just thought that was interesting. Now back to the other side of the stadium where I normally take my skyline or my stadium pictures for, and that's because I like to get the skyline in the outfield. Don't usually do this during the day, but the kind of clouds made it a little bit interesting. The evening skies were never interesting, I don't think, for most of the series, or at least the games I was at. So I never really got that cool sunset photo that I try to get every year. But a couple nice daytime shots I really enjoyed. So here we got one with the player in the outfield, and you think, that's nothing special, just an outfielder catching the ball. You can't see the ball, but this one was nice because I was using the 200-800, and I'm zoomed in at 600 millimeters. So something with when I was using that 400, you just don't get as clear shots in the outfield. Last year I had that Sigma, the old 150 to 600 that I used, but I really enjoyed having the Canon 200-800. I enjoyed having the R5 and all its capabilities with the proper mirrorless lens. It all worked good. It just makes me want those expensive lenses so much more now. But different problem for a different day. And then one more baseball before we go to the fireworks. Again, he got an Arkansas first baseman looking at the ball. The ball is just about ready to go in his glove. You have an LSU player trying to get the first to beat the tag. Obviously, unless he drops that ball, it's not going to happen. But I just like the way the ball was right in front of the glove. Another one that's 200-800, and this one was only at 380 or 338 millimeters, which means I probably cropped this one a little bit. I could have done this if I had the 400, but overall it worked out good. I'm glad that I took out that the 200-800 and tried it out in the first game, because I really did enjoy having it there for a lot of games. Steve Branscombe that I talk about in a lot of these videos, you can see him right there, just to the right of the guy with the glove, pointing the camera. It looks like he's pointing it right at me. So always fun to catch up with him during the series, talk about what's going on. So hope you enjoyed the College World Series portion of this video. We're going to flip over to the fireworks next, because that hasn't been as smooth this year. Alright, so let's go to the fireworks. And Oops, that's going to load Photoshop. We'll get out of that in a second. Fireworks have been not as smooth. I've had quite a few errors, but I've also come away with a lot of cool photos. So let's close this out real quick and just load these up so I can give you some camera data. So what happened was I have this first night. This is the Memorial Park fireworks. It's always like the Friday before the 4th of July weekend. Normally when I'm doing fireworks, especially with anything of a decent length lens, I always use my shutter release. Basically, this, for those of you who don't know, this end plugs into the camera, and this end is a shutter button. So instead of pushing the button on top of the camera, I can stand back and look at the fireworks and hold this, and when I push this, the camera starts taking a picture. I usually have 2 of these. One of them broke, and so I only had one, which you only need one. But for whatever reason, I took it out of my camera bag at some point a couple weeks ago, and I never put it back in there. And this one's small, the other one's bigger because it has a lot of timer settings and stuff on it. So I didn't have this, and people say, well, Brad, just use a 2-second timer, which is fine. That's normally what I do for like architectural skyline stuff like that. I'll just use the 2-second timer. So for those who don't know, on the camera, if you set a 2-second timer, you push the button, take your hands off, the camera's going to count 1, 2, and then take the picture. Well, what happens is by the time those 2 seconds are done, the camera, any little movement and shaking in the camera is done. It stops, so it's going to give you a nice clear picture. With the fireworks, what I do is I get the camera dialed in the way I want it. Instead of watching the camera or the back of the camera or through the eyepiece, I'm watching the fireworks. And I'm sitting there, and as soon as I see one I want, I push the button. And they're the one I want, push the button. And what that allows me to do is get the timing, the rhythm of the fireworks down. Instead of, oh, there's a firework, I want to take a picture, hit the button, count to 2. You're too late half the time by them, most of the time by them. Well, the problem with these fireworks is I had on my 200 to 800, and I had it set at 400 millimeters, so you're zoomed in pretty close. I was 9 miles away from downtown when I took these, which would have been about 5 miles away from the actual fireworks. So I was zoomed way in on them. And basically, what I like about that is the lens compression, taking fireworks that are 5 miles away and a downtown that's 9 miles away, and I'm just smashing them right into one picture. It's what the long lenses do, which is awesome. But when I'm doing the fireworks, I'm like hitting that button, like anticipating, and I hit the button. So when I'm hitting the camera, it's shaking all around with that big lens. So that's why I always use the shutter release. So anyways, you're going to see, like this first photo here, you can see the fireworks. They're very, very squiggly. The ones at the top are the smiley face fireworks. And they're the first ones that went off as I pushed the button, and you can see how they're really squiggly. And then the white and red ones down below it, that would have been the second firework that went off in that sequence. And so over the 4-second exposure, the first 2 seconds or second half was the smiley faces that are all squiggly. Next ones go off at the end of that 4 seconds, so they're a lot smoother. It creates something cool. I mean, I really do think those fireworks, they're very stylized. There's a trend, it's been around forever, but lately they have a fancy name called ICM, or intentional camera movement. So I joke that this was unintentional camera movement because I had no plans of doing this, but you can just see it is a cool effect. And then there's other fireworks where they're pretty sharp. I don't really see the squiggles in this. The buildings in the background are a lot sharper. This is a 4-second one, so maybe I hit it and didn't hit it as hard, or I hit it and it was still another second before the fireworks went off. But so this one's a lot clearer. You got the next one where it's the same thing. You got some crazy squiggly, they're almost like question marks or springs that are kind of stretched out at the end. And then you do have the next round of fireworks, which were also, the camera's still bouncing then, but another kind of a cool effect. This one, you really got the squiggles going in the first set, and then as the later fireworks went on, you can see the camera did settle down. Like I said, cool effect, not what I was going for. These are not photos that I would print. They look cool on social media, but I'm not going to print necessarily a photo with the blurry background. There's always next year. So then when it was all done, and then I was using the 2-second exposure. You can see what the 2-second exposure. Now this is zoomed in all the way at 800 millimeters, so this is double the zoom what I was using during the fireworks. But you can see First National, the new Mutual Tower, the Woodman, and the old Mutual of Omaha Tower. Interesting note about the old Mutual of Omaha Tower. I've struggled forever making that sign. Unless you zoom in on that sign and expose for just that sign, it never looks sharp, and I think it's so much brighter than everything around it. It's kind of blown out, and so the light escapes past the edges. And a lot of times, I was just watching a video on this the other day. That sharpness is, a lot of times it's when it's a dark next to a light, and you can see that crisp line. And I think that this you can't see that crisp line. So struggle with that forever, but I thought this was neat, zoomed in. I really like the way that yellow tower crane lit up at night on top of the new Mutual Tower. Looks really cool. So then I think it was the next night, I was going to go photograph the Lake Manawa fireworks, and I went over to Lake Manawa, and it was crazy. I mean, there was so many people. I photographed from inside the park before, but I don't ever remember being packed where there was nowhere to park, nowhere to stop. So I kept going, and I searched around for a couple different things, and I just never found anything that really jumped out at me. And in a last-ditch effort, I went up on the South Omaha Bridge, and you can see I'm close to 13th Street here, looking east towards Lake Manawa. You get the cars coming across the bridge. The actual bridge structure itself is a couple miles long, but then for whatever reason in the middle it has the one truss section. So I thought, this is cool, and looking at my map, I thought, wow, the fireworks are going to come up right perfectly to the left of the bridge. The fireworks came up and they were way off to the left. I have no idea how I mean, if I was at home planning this, I would have had Google Earth open, and I would have been drawing lines on my map on Google Earth and making sure I was lined up. I was trying to eyeball with my phone. I thought I was closer than I was. Never really been off that far. So I thought this was going to be cool. Fireworks are way off to the left. Here's the next one is a composite photo from one of the other photos I took that weekend, and I just kind of pasted the fireworks in. This is how I envisioned it. This is what I thought it was going to look like, but instead it just got this. So me and all my bug spray and mosquito bites went home and said better luck next time. So then that was the second failed show in a row, and then the third one. I had a good one in between. I guess I didn't even include any of those photos. I did photograph the Happy Hollow fireworks. It was just a little nice show from one of the neighbors' backyards, friends of ours' backyard, so we could just watch out. Didn't have a cool scene to compose with it. Happy Hollow was just kind of in a wooded neighborhood. Just had fun. The kids were there. The kids watched it, all that. So then the next night was the 4th of July, and I went to a place in Council Bluffs that I've shot from many, many times over the years, and it too was just absolutely packed. There were people everywhere. People standing from the end of the railing. It was up on a bluff. From the end of the railing all the way into the street, there was people everywhere. And so I said, all right, plan B. And I went down to the river to the casino. Thought I was going to take a picture at 10 o'clock. I thought the show, for whatever reason, started at 10 o'clock. So I get my stuff out. I had 20 minutes, 18 minutes. I start walking. And I know that in the summer, your camera lens is just like a pair of glasses. If you're in a cold, air-conditioned space and you walk out into this hot, humid, gross weather we have right now, your glasses fog up. Well, your camera lens is going to fog up. But I figure I have 20 minutes. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to set it up. It'll clear off. Well, as I'm walking to the spot, the first fireworks started going off. So I kind of hustled, got down to where I was going to take the picture from, set the camera up, and you can see here, it is just fog. The lens is just fogged over. And another way I would normally combat this, if I was going to a fireworks show and I knew I was cutting it late, or any outdoor sporting event or whatnot, I would just drive with the windows down and the air conditioning in the car off, just to keep it, let it acclimate to the outside temperature. Buy yourself some time. But instead, my camera was sitting here in the basement of a cold house all for a day or two. Put it in an air conditioning car, drove down. So it immediately fogged over. So I was waiting. I had my air blower blowing air on it, trying to clear it off. And once it finally cleared off, I did get some decent photos. I wish that I would have got a little further down and got those fireworks more angled in closer to the city, but as you can see, it still looks pretty cool. You got the fireworks, the American flag there on the right, and then the downtown Omaha skyline on the left. Still got a little blue sky in there. Like I said in the last video, I always appreciate some blue sky. Another really just nice firework. And, oh, that's it. I only included 2. But they all pretty much from that show look the same. You know, it was a good show. It was another J&M. They do a great job. But a lot of the, it was more just repetitive, different colors, different textures, different things like that. So for tonight's video, to keep it short, because I'm probably already rambled on for 20 minutes, just threw the 2 in here. But overall, I got some pictures I really like. Even with all the mistakes I made over this 4th of July weekend, I still really got some good stuff. So after this, I don't know what I'm photographing next. I need to get to a Storm Chaser game. Definitely behind on getting there. It's been a while since I've been out to the park, so I did have fun doing the College World Series, and kept telling myself I need to get out to Storm Chasers and get some more baseball photos. So other than that, just gonna enjoy the rest of my J is for Juice here, and start editing this video. Sorry for you to see. So I appreciate everyone tuning in. Like I said, this one's a week late because the last week was 4th of July, and I figured no one wanted to watch it on the 4th of July anyways. And then the last one was 2 weeks late because I didn't like the first video I made last month. So now we're kind of caught up and just got to figure out what I'm going to do for August. So if you have any ideas, please let me know. I don't think I have any at the moment. So. But like always, I appreciate everyone watching these videos. If you have any suggestions, comments, please let me know. You can either put them down below in the comments or shoot me an email, brad@bradwilliamsphotography.com. So appreciate everyone. Hope you had a great 4th of July, and we'll see you again next month.